Desire is generally a process of wanting and feeding. So it's all taproot in its process. It's not a process of giving. It's not a process of service. It's not a process of expressed kindness, care, support, stewardship, curation. It's not a process of honoring anyone or anything. It is a seeking, an endless seeking, a voracious seeking. It doesn't have a limit. It doesn't get satiated. If we have a desire fulfilled, we often then, once that desire is fulfilled, we go have another desire that we go chase after. So people chase after desire and they chase after passion. Fulfillment of passions is seen as for many, as the process of the foundation of creativity in our world, rather than expression of unconditional love as the dynamic co-creation. Unconditional love operates without passion. It can be absolutely diligent, resilient, infinitely patient and tolerant, infinitely durable and resilient. It is indestructible. There's nothing wrong with desire, passion, or fear, or ambition. They're not bad or wrong, and they can be experienced at a cost. The cost is the damage to the planet, the creation of global warming dynamics, subjugation of other, generation of competition, which unfolds from the ambition and the desire, and even the passion. And that competition between people leads to disunity and tribalism, which leads to an incapacity to consciously collaborate, which leads to an incapacity to generate a sustainable life process for humanity that works without damaging or destroying the environment. The taproot and narcissism put on a vast obscuration onto that process that says the I, the ego identity I, is all that matters, all that counts, all that need be taken into account in decision making or action taking or behavior or relationship dynamic. It is seen, the fulfillment of that ego desire is seen as an end unto itself, without regard to implication in the future, without regard to meaning of its operation to others in the future, without care for anyone or anything. All that is focused on is the fulfillment of the desire. Therefore, we would suggest that desire equals addiction. Ambition equals addiction. Fear itself equals a form of addiction, because none of them is supportive of conscious, detached free will. No attachment, no aversion, conscious, discerning, God-aligned free will. The taproot is without heart. It is without mind. It is without compassion or soul. It is without service intention. It is without consciousness. It is part of our evolutionary process. We could not be here today without it. We couldn't be talking on Zoom discussing love, consciousness, and care, and service and alignment with spirit, had it not been in this way, had it not been for the existence of the taproot. operating as it has. It's not a villain. It's not wrong. It's not bad. And it is not the complete process of soul evolution. If it is taken to be that, then it will express itself infinitely in infinitely complexified darkness, destructiveness, competition, feeding, and ever more complexified permutations of harm and dysfunction. For you folks to have the courage and the intentionality to be hearing these words and to contemplate the true permutations, all of them, of the meaning of this conversation in this world, and still to hold steadfast in the light, in love, in care, no matter what tidal forces of competition or nationalism or politicization or the monetization of our world is impressive and laudable. It is our intention in this conversation, we hope that it's been clear, even though not adequately stated up until this moment, to ground the light in the midst of that seeming ignorance, darkness, ambition, feeding dynamic, and desire addiction dynamic, and to simply hold the light for others so that they can find their way out of the travails of tribalism and ego process and dynamics of harm generated from simple ignorance, not knowing better, not knowing what we're doing, not having a light to guide us, and not knowing a better way to proceed as individuals and as a collective. Single-pointed focus allows us to focus on and learn from any dimension of life. If we can hold the intention to focus in a single-pointed way and to do so consciously. If someone drops a rock on your foot, you're going to be single-pointed focused on your foot. It won't be a conscious focus. Most likely, it will be a very painful and reactive focus. And that will, for the time that your foot is in pain, that will seem like all that there is in the world or the universe or your life is the pain of your foot. Desire is equally obscuring. Desire brings focus on what we desire. Thus, it brings unconscious, single-pointed focus to that which we desire. Now, there are brilliant and highly attained spiritual teachers in the past that have said, if you want it, have it. Whatever it is, even if it's not good for you, if you want it, if you truly want it, have it. And there's a wisdom in that. Because if we want something that's not good for us, and we have it, and we experience it, and we experience all the seeming pleasure of it, or goodness of it, or joy of it, we're also going to experience the pain and the suffering or the discomfort that it brings with it. If somebody wants to be a smoker all their lives, and they choose to have that smoking, and then they get lung cancer downline from it, they will have had what they wanted, and then they will have learned the cost of having what they want. So how can one learn to make wise, discerning decisions if you don't, through the school of hard knocks, if you don't have someone to offer understanding or clarity or light or wisdom or quality information? How else can a soul learn via free will other than this process of having what you want and then learning the costs of having what you want? and the benefits, and then over many lifetimes refining your discernment so you can make ever more wise decisions, moment by moment, day by day, lifetime by lifetime, and therefore evolve your trajectory, if you so choose, into greater alignment with spirit, and recognizing that ultimately as the most joyful path, the least painful path, the most beneficial path, and the most rewarding path in every way that reward can truly occur. So this process of desire operating as obscuration, as generating a set of blinders on one's decisional process at a subconscious level, rather than creating a conscious process of free will choice that is informed by wisdom and discernment and in quality, accurate information and true understanding, gives us the capacity to make those wise decisions. You could look at, if you've ever walked down a path in the country with a flashlight, if you've got a very small, dim flashlight, you can only hold it right at your feet and take one little step at a time, because if you try to walk faster or walk ahead of where the light will shine, you might walk off a cliff or into a tree or step on a sharp rock and hurt yourself. If you've got a very bright light that can shine well down the path, so you can see it all very clearly, and that's a metaphor of being in alignment with spirit, allowing spirit to light the way, guide the way, define the way, map the way for you, to inform you constantly of the way, then your choices are obvious, and as long as you stay on that path of light, you tend to get the most optimal, auspicious results in every choice you make, in every moment of life. We can either operate from the dim light of ego or the very bright light of spirit. It's a choice. If we choose the dim light of ego and we endure falling down over and over again in the darkness, or banging our shins on rocks, or falling off cliffs because we couldn't see that there was a cliff there, if we get enough of that pain and suffering, we tend to look for some other way to light our path, and eventually, hopefully, people will get to choosing spirit to be the light for their path, rather than ego, rather than betterness, rather than power and money and status seeking, rather than narcissistic assumption of our knowing a whole bunch of stuff, or being streetwise, or understanding the tribe better than somebody else understands the tribe. We're not suggesting not being streetwise. The story we talked about, the parable in the Bible of Christ sending his disciples into the corrupt city and saying, be as wise as serpents and as harmless as doves. It's important to be discerning. It's important to be wise. It's important to look before you leap in any choice in life. It's also important to be courageous and fearless, and loving, kind, and caring, and compassionate, and non-judgmental.